Hello and welcome to another edition of the Commissioner's Report. I'm your host, Tricia Pichette, and joining me today are Commissioner George Lindsey and Fire Chief Weech, who are going to tell us all about what's going on in the Polk County Fire Rescue.
Thank you. Fire and rescue operation has gone through a lot of changes in the last few years. We recently had reviews from some outside consultants on areas that we need to concentrate on and improve, some of which are internal personnel changes and focus on staff. But the big bucks come from assets and facilities that our organization needs. So I want to invite Chief Weech to explain some of the facilities that are coming forward that the board recently authorized to get underway. It's a long process from design until completion, but we've started the process. And give Chief Weech an opportunity to explain our new training center, the complex, and what we can expect.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's certainly an honor for me to be here. You know, when we talk about public safety and service to the community, you're certainly on the forefront of that. You certainly hold us accountable and make sure we perform at a high level. So, and you also give us the tools to do the job well. And so from a public service standpoint, I appreciate your contribution to that, not only from accountability standpoint, but from the ability to provide the stuff that we need to perform at the level. So it's an honor for me to be here today. Thank you for the opportunity. And Trish, it's good to see you again as well. And you talk about the consultant's report that we got a couple of years ago and all the steps that we took to improve our performance and take care of the community when it's needed. And certainly we've done a lot of that, both from a boots on the ground standpoint and a commissioner support. But I think the next big step is our training facility, how we train and the things we do to prepare to meet all those community needs. And so certainly training is at the backbone of the performance of the fire department, and it certainly has to happen. And along with that is having that training facility. You know, the outside consultant said how important it was to have that training facility, and certainly the commissioners for Polk County are supporting that. You know, it's people like you that make these things happen. So we're looking forward to the opportunity to get better and serve the public. So,
one of the things that training allows you to do, for lack of a better word, is muscle memory, yes, and replicate in a controlled environment what you often see, or probably don't see often enough, in field experiences. So you can train and anticipate and change circumstances so that your team can have the experience and know how to expedite the extrication or administer the medications, or all those things that take to keep people safe in Polk County.
Certainly, you hit on some important keys. That's muscle memory and the times where there's a lot of risk going on, a lot of chaos going on. Certainly the first time you do something, you don't want to be under that extreme pressure and chaos where we have lives and property at risk. Those are things that you want to practice, and having that muscle memory is important. So a training facility, and certainly we do a lot of training now, but what the facility will enable us to do is to vary the training that we do so that we get that muscle memory under different conditions and different environments. And we approach public safety here at Polk County from an all hazards approach. There's a lot that's expected of us from the community, and certainly we work hard to make sure we're delivering at a high level with all of those things we're expected to do. So muscle memory is something that we look for. Confidence is something we look for. You know, one of the biggest parts of my job and our job here at Polk County is hire, attract, retain, and develop talent. And a training center will allow us to do exactly that. It's develop the people that we bring in so that they can deliver at a high level. And I think that, you know, having a training center in place not only will speak to our ability to perform at that high level, to have the expertise, but it also to retain folks into this county service. You know, we invest a lot in getting them here. We should also invest just as much as getting them to stay. And that comes along with confidence and having the ability to serve. So I think the things that you're talking about, muscle memory, being able to perform, certainly that training facility will help us do all of those things.
During my travels throughout the county from time to time, as I pass a station, I'll stop in unannounced and introduce myself and chat with the staff, the operators, the paramedics, the EMTs, the captains and the lieutenants, and while they're appreciative of the commission showing interest, I'm learning more about their dedication. You got a heck of a team of young men and women who have made this their life mission, and they are really dedicated to their task and their cross training, and to give them the opportunity to replicate what one team may have seen and this team has not, to allow them so that when they experience that for the first time, it's not second guessing or pausing. They know what to do when they come on the scene.
Yeah, and I think that's important, just as you point out. No, by the way, I hear about your visit. You're certainly not a stranger to the fire stations, and I appreciate that, and our men and women that have dedicated their lives to that appreciate the fact that you're in this with them. And certainly you've been involved in training and done a lot of the things that we do, and you've gotten involved in. We appreciate that. But yeah, is being able to operate in those environments. We operate in that environment where it's low frequency but high risk. And those are the events that you want to train for and be ready for. And certainly that's what the community expects, and that's what we look to deliver. So, you know, putting ourselves in those situations so that we have practice dealing with them first is certainly something that they want to do. They thrive on it. You know, a firefighter, paramedic, public service professional wants to put themselves in those environments so their confidence goes up, so does their performance. So we look for those areas, we look for those opportunities, we learn from each other. Hey, I was faced with this, and this is what I did, this is what I recommend. So we do a lot of that unofficial tabletop type training, but nothing beats being out there on the fire ground with a tool in your hand in that environment and performing and then critiquing it under a controlled environment. So nothing replaces that.
So what sort of incidents would you be training for at this new center?
Well, training is something that we start from the core basic level. So we'll take a brand new firefighter that's been with the county for 1 year, and we start to train on the basics, and that hose deployment, water supply, suppression, primary search, forcible entry, things of that nature. And so we just build from the basics and what the community expects from simple house fires to multi-residential to commercial fires to what we see in the streets, extrication. You know, we have specialty teams here that's involved in a lot of things, hazardous materials teams. So it's a full gamut of things that we're looking to train and get better at with the core understanding that we have to be very good at the basics to be able to expand from there. And so it's, we retract to the basics, then we expand, and we attract, contract, and we expand. And the whole thing is looking for that core expertise in what we're doing.
I will attest that it is a young person's occupation. The chief and his team allowed me to pretend I was a firefighter a few months ago. Full bunker gear, helmet, the gloves, everything, to use the jaws of life to take the roof off of the car, not on the scene, in a junkyard. And I will tell you, it is a young person's profession. It is not designed for the geriatric crowd, and I'm glad they do what they do.
So you didn't hire him on the spot?
Well, you know, he showed enough promise for let us get him involved in some of these things. So if we ever have the need, we know who to call. If he's got experience, and by the way, he did very well.
If you get that far down the list to call me, you're in trouble. But I enjoyed it, and I appreciate the opportunity to have a small taste of that, and a greater appreciation for what these young men and women do every day.
Well, thank you, and the firefighters of Polk County for everything you do.
Well, I appreciate the thanks, but we take our job seriously, and certainly all the men and women of Polk County Fire Rescue, they've dedicated their lives to public safety and service, and they take it seriously, and they do a very good job. So I'm very proud of them as well.
Well, this was very interesting. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming. And thank you for watching another edition of the Commissioner's Report.